Today, we're going to learn about how to help your team become performant as a Scrum Master. And this is going to be a very focused learning, but it's going to capture almost everything you need to know. So if you have not watched the last video on release planning, which I kind of went deep to give you the whole layout of what a Scrum project is, then you need to go back to that video to watch it in order to understand what we want to talk about today, right? We're talking about helping your team to become performant. For you to help your team to become performant, you need to master all the Scrum concepts, because you are helping them to align to the way that they can deliver effectively. Why do we need to talk about performance in a Scrum environment? Why is it an important concept? It's important because if a team is not performant, a team will be dysfunctional. So any team that is not performing, that team is sick, right? Just imagine if you have a phone and it's not working well, the performance is low, what happened? Every time you get on your nerve, there's something that is not working well. So when we talk about team performance, we're talking about Scrum in its entirety. We're talking about you being able to understand the in and out of Scrum and using that knowledge to support your team. So we're going to be covering a couple of aspects here. Now, when we talk about performance or helping your team become performant, most often we'll look at it from the soft part of it, right? On communication, that is true. But you will figure out when we go through these different aspects that although we're talking here about asking the right question, listen and empower, recognize what is going well, understanding perspective, talking about the next step, coaching in the moment, committing to continuous learning, this is not separated from the Scrum concept. You can only align these in what is going on. You can only coach them based on the feedback that you are having from your KPIs, from your report. But then let's kind of piggyback to understanding why should you even help your team become performant? What is the importance, and why should we talk about this within the Scrum environment? Now you realize that in every Agile environment, we are building a product, right? So Agile is product-centric, right? Agile is product-centric. That is what makes it different from project management. Why? Because we must be talking about an achievement. Product is what helps us to focus on the customer, right? Now, look at this here. If we are right here creating a laptop, right? Let's say we are about to create a laptop. And if we're creating a laptop as a product, what are we going to do? We talk about who is using it, the customer. So it's for Keith. Now we say we are customer centric. We're focusing on Keith, right? So that's the key of customer centricity in Agile. If it's a project, we're talking about what is it going to perform? What do we want to achieve at the end of the project? Now, based on what we want to achieve, we start laying a plan, and it might be serving what? A purpose, maybe for learning Spanish. So in that case, there is no specific customer there. It's just we want to enable you to learn Spanish. So we can load all the Spanish software in there and send it out to the market. And then you realize that if a kid maybe pick it up, because of how complex it's been laid and they want to learn Spanish, they cannot use it. Why? Because it wasn't customer-centric, it was service-centric. It was achieving a goal. So Scrum says, okay, we know that we want to do this, but let's focus on the customer. That is why when you do a user story, or that's why the language of Agile is user story. Why? Because we want to understand who is using it, and we want to be able to use that language to help them make maximum use of it. So at any point T, I'm going to see if I can use my pen right here. At any point T, okay, good. At any point T, if we're building a software, whether for a phone, whether for your laptop, your desktop, or your iPad, it's not just about building that software. It's first about who is using it before we can know exactly how to make it effective and functional. So in that case, we now understand that our team is to focus on the customer and to build a software that the customer is going to love. So our baseline for helping them become performant is not just that we want to have a one-on-one with them. We want to find out if they're doing good. We can only succeed if we have the knowledge behind us that this is what they're supposed to be doing. So with that knowledge, it empowers us to give them the right coaching. And this is what brings us to what? We need to understand what they need to be doing, what they need to be missing. Now, let's take a scenario here, right? Let's say that I come meet you at home and you kind of in bed and I realize that you're not feeling fine, right? And I go ahead to say, oh my God, you're not feeling fine, you need some medication. And then, okay, I send someone to the pharmacy to get you maybe Tylenol or maybe any medication because I want you to feel well, right? Okay, maybe what you needed at that time wasn't medication. Maybe you were just so sick because, let's say you went through a heartbreak and you just needed someone to talk to you and comfort you. Now, you look sick, you look like someone who needs medication. I immediately prescribe you need medication, but I did not understand what you're going through from the genesis of it. What's going to happen? Now, at that particular moment, what I am seeing and I'm prescribing something, it looked like the right medication. Now, because you definitely will feel like, oh, I don't want to reject it and make you feel like, oh, you're not happy, I'll just take it to satisfy you. But at the end of the day, did you solve the problem? No. So when you leave, what happened? The person goes back to the normal state. So this is how sometimes we coach our team. We don't see them from the entirety of the program, a product they're working on, and from what they want to achieve. So we're trying to solve all the little problems that we are seeing at the level of the team, and we keep seeing them happening over and over again. I'm like, oh, I've done everything I can, but my team is not moving anywhere. So what am I doing wrong? Right. So in this case, what happens is because we have not looked at what we call the top-down approach. We are focusing on trying to solve it from the bottom. All right, now, let me give you another scenario why you need to, first of all, understand the bigger picture before you can effectively solve what is going on at this level. Right. I want to assume that you're a Scrum Master of a new team. In your first day when you start working, you're given access to the Jira board of your team or to the product backlog of your team, right? And then you start going through all the different aspects, their reporting, the way they write your user story and all of that, and you make all your notes, all what they need to improve and every stuff just by looking at what they're going through, which is what many of us do, right? We go, oh, they're not writing user stories well. Oh, the backlog is a mess. Oh, they're missing epics and all of that. So it's a mess. I don't even know where to start. And because of that, we kind of in a panic because we don't know where to start. But all of this can only make sense if business even understand if we need to start creating epics, in order to define work before we move it to the team level. If up here business doesn't understand anything about epics, it doesn't matter what you do down here, the same malfunction or the same disorganized work is still going to be pushed to the team. So you realize that what? You're doing your analysis on the wrong ground. So, but if you understand that requirement gathering starts from high level, it moves to management and to the team, what happened? By the time you are asking a team question, you have at the back of your mind that they are not the sole decision maker. So you ask them a question that reflects and help you to understand how this reflect throughout the organization. So if we don't have this foundation, then it's going to be very difficult for us to coach. And maybe the first time you have a one-on-one with your team member, and the next time they say, oh, my calendar is full, I don't have any time. Why? Because the first time you did not make any impact. They're not too courageous to tell you that you're wasting their time. So anytime you try to book a one-on-one, they're like, oh, my calendar is full. Oh, I have a meeting here. Why? You're not creating impact. And which is also the reason why you don't have to be very quick to start giving feedback. Take your time, gather enough information. When you meet with someone, be able to do what? To demonstrate your knowledge, to demonstrate that you understand this. I do understand that, okay, look, this might not only be your decision, it might also go beyond you, but I want to understand from your own perspective, what exactly do you think is the problem? Versus me coming in and said, oh, I just visited your backlog, it's a whole mess, you guys are not doing it right and all of that. And then he said, okay, if only you knew we have tried so much to talk to business to do it right, you will not be asking me this question. So what happened? You just demonstrated that you don't even understand the flow of work from here. And this is a problem many Scrum Masters go through. And when you get to any organization, they are trying to classify you to those set of people, because many people don't take the time to do that, right? Someone called me today and like, oh, I need help. I'm starting a job on Monday. And like, okay, do you know how to use any project management tool? No, I don't know how to do that. Do you know how to set a calendar? No, I don't know how to do that. You have an offer, you're starting a job on Monday. And then you don't know how to do any of this. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to think about to see if I need help or not. Now, this is what is making this job difficult for people who are investing the time, because when you actually get in, maybe the managers have had many of people that can do this, so they classify everyone. So they now tend to make life difficult. And this is why when you master this, you realize that when you get in, you can demonstrate a very clear difference. So for you to coach your team well, you need to understand what the foundation, understand what Agile is and what Agile is not. Now, if we understand this, then we can have a conversation about how to coach a team to be performant. So without the foundation that we just went through, all what we want to do here would not have any meaning. So the first thing you want to do, your most powerful coaching technique, is asking guiding questions. You might do your analysis and realize that the backlog is a mess and realize that stories are not linked to epics. But then when you are working with your team members, you are not directly pointing out that XYZ is wrong. Now you frame guiding question around what you have seen in order to see if they can even figure out that there is a problem. So it doesn't seem like you're the one pointing out the problem, like, okay, how do you guys write your stories? And how do you connect your stories to epics? And what's your refinement strategy? And all of these, what are you doing? You're trying to gain knowledge from them. So what you're gathering, you're not presenting any You're not giving any judgment. What team members would not like, or the kind of Scrum Master or the kind of new team member they will not like, is someone that comes the first day and start telling them they're doing everything wrong. Just imagine someone come to your home and say, oh, look, this color is not good chair. It's going to be better you put it this way. This chair is going to be better on the other side. You know what? You put your TV wrongly. It's going to be best this way. What are you going to do? Even if that person was saying the truth. The next time, if they call you and ask if you're home, you will tell them, no, I'm going out now, right? Why? Not because they gave the wrong advice, because they did not appreciate you as a person. So no matter how bad your team is, no matter how bad they look, you start by doing what? Appreciating them. Well, how do you appreciate them? Not by validating the wrong thing that they're doing, but by using that and crafting guiding questions that help you to have get an understanding if they understand exactly what they're doing. Every good relationship is a result of a conversation. And that conversation, you understand what is a conversation, right? Now, if I'm having a conversation with you and I say, look, I know this thing very well, and there are not two ways. I just want to make it clear to you. This is how this thing look like. What's happening? I'm trying to, it feel like I'm having a conversation, but I'm trying to do what? I don't need your opinion. I already know what answer. But if I come and like, okay, what do you think? This is what I've seen, and this is what I've experienced. Have you also come across something like this? What are we trying to do? It's a two-way. And that's why questioning still remains very powerful in any relationship. The way you seek to understand people is by putting them in the point where they can give feedback and you can now understand their learning. I'm going to give you a story. There's this one of my colleague I met. And that's why when people ask you questions, don't think they know nothing. Smart people are very tricky. And we're going for a walk. It's like, you know what? They've just created this new 6.6. I don't understand all the concept they're talking about, flow everywhere. I've tried to understand that, but I can't even figure it out. Can you explain this to me? And I was busy trying to help this guy understand it, but he feels like, okay, look, I don't get it. And now he moves to another question. And I was trying to help him understand it, and in the most simplest way I can, right? So now when he understood that I know exactly what I'm doing, he was able to open up. And I realized that this is someone that has been doing it for over 30 years. And in less than 2 seconds. So when people meet you and they're trying to act, it's not because they don't know. Right. So which is the importance of not just assuming that everything you see is the same as it is. Now, when you master this concept of asking the right question, or even when you have the knowledge, you're still able to present your opinion as it is not the final. This is how I understand it. This is how I see it. You're able to get valid feedback. Now, there's some people that will understand everything that they need to do to fix the team, to make the team work. But because you don't ask their opinion, they're just going to fold their hand, wait and see you go round and round until maybe the day you decide to give up. Very important. Now, after we do powerful questions, we need to recognize what is going on well. Wow, I see that you guys have been able to put in a whole lot of work. Tell me, how have you been able to do this? First, you are learning what have been working for them. And while you're learning and they're giving you the information and the feedback, what's happening? You are also trying to understand what the gap is. Based from there, you are also generating questions you're going to throw back to them in order to get more information from them. And this is done in a very non-serious way, right? One of the things which is a very powerful coaching technique and which a lot of people hardly do is appreciating people. Let's say I can have a one-on-one session with Nanga, and then she actually turns up and she comes in, she put a camera on or so. Most often we just like, hello, and dive straight to the conversation, right? Now, it's always very important, take about a minute and say, hey, look, I understand how valuable this time is for you. I don't take it for granted. You've definitely put in a lot of time. So I would just want to say thank you. And also just the fact that you're on camera, trust me, in my former organization, people will show up. They don't even care about who you are. Now, what are you doing? You're reminding them who you don't want them to be by appreciating them. So now they now understand what you call value through appreciation, recognizing value. There are people who will deliberately maybe not do something, but if they do it once and you appreciate their value, you realize that what? They constantly do it over and over and over again. The reason some people don't even do stuff is because no one has ever taken a time to appreciate them and tell them how meaningful that is. So recognize value. We cannot overemphasize on this. The doctor's approach. Why do you think you visit the doctor and the doctor will say, okay, look, we need to give you an injection and you need to pull down your dress, and you do that without hesitating? You don't just walk in and they ask you that. They start by interviewing, checking what did you eat, having a conversation. They make you see that you're in a safest environment. So the mind is relaxed. And because the mind, why? Because they listen to you talk. A doctor cannot say, oh no, that's too much. I understand what you need. No, they are going to spend the time listening to you, ask you follow-up questions, encourage you and tell you that, hey, look, everything is going to be okay. What happened? You relax and you feel. So no matter what comes after that, because they have made you secure, what? You're in a comfortable environment to do it. What keeps people from taking action is because they're afraid. They don't want previous experiences to happen, right? They're not secured enough. So you create a secure environment by listening and taking down notes. Listening and taking down notes. It's very important. Now, I have a mentor at my workplace, because when you come in, you need to have a mentor. And then definitely taking down note is my number one goal. It doesn't matter who's sitting there. It's not about who knows best. It's about the information they're giving you at that point is very important. And I have my notebook, and definitely very organized. I have two notebooks. I have a notebook I take note when we have general coaches meeting and all stuff. I have a notebook I take note when I'm meeting specifically with my mentor. And after about 4 meetings, 5 meetings, like, okay, Francis, we need this for administration. I want you to document everything we have discussed for the past 4 days and then send it over to me. All right, just imagine if I had no note down. That's an evaluation. That's already an evaluation to know if you're trustworthy enough for them to hand entire train to you. And if in a single meeting you're not paying attention and you cannot even add value, why should they trust this number of people to you? And the people within their first evaluation period, they tell them, sorry, we cannot keep you. Why? Because they are not doing the right thing. They're not listening. They're not taking down notes. So when we take time to teach you this, it's not because we want to, it's not for our good. We're teaching you what is creating result out there. If you choose not what to do that, At the end of the day, you go in there and what's going to happen? You start blaming everybody. Oh, you did not do this. Oh, you did not have a one-on-one with me. Oh, when I wrote to you, they did not answer me. That is why things are happening like this. Why? Because simple instruction. Now, I always tell everybody, if you pay very close attention to our mastermind and go back and replicate this, you don't need any other teacher. This is enough. Now, because we don't just teach you concept, we teach you how to turn it into valuable result. We're teaching you how to be the coach. The information we give in here is not for those who are looking for a Scrum job. It's for those who want to master the concept and be able to teach others. So I expect everyone in here, not just to be someone that comes, run in, ask a question, but someone that can use this information, and somebody new is joining the community today. You can say, okay, look, we have learned this. Sit down. Let me teach you what we have been able to learn. How many people can replicate that? Because we are not listening, because we don't think that we can empower people. Everything we take is for ourselves. After yourself, nobody else. When you're done consuming for yourself, you go and get more. Now, when you put yourself in that position, it becomes very difficult for you to move beyond your own self. And you always see yourself asking for information. Now, if we go back to the last video on the last video we did on the release planning, I did say that the reason why POs and team lead tend to start dictating to Scrum Master is because they're always asking, they're not adding value. They always come and ask and ask and ask. So if you're asking what happened, I'm your boss, so you need to come and ask information. I know you're coming back. So if I dictate to you and you don't buy it, next time you come, I wouldn't give you information. And because you're in dire need of this information, you tend to submit to them. And you're not supposed to submit to them. You're supposed to get in a conversation and contribute and let them know that what? Although you might be there now, it's not because they know too much. It's just because it's a protocol that you need to go through. Number 4, understand team member perspective. You can be seeing a 6 or a 9. It just depends from what angle we are looking at it. It depends from what point we're standing. So this is a very powerful concept that helps you to separate, this person is right, this person is wrong, this person is right. And when you shift, this is also a very powerful concept in life. People tend to get upset over very little things because they don't understand that people see based on what is in them. People don't see based on their relationship with you. No, they see based on what is in them. So someone will say something and you get very upset that they say this and you understand this is what they mean. No, they said that because that is what is in them. It's not about you. But when you don't pay attention that we are coming from different perspectives, you get very upset when people say things that you don't expect. So you are expecting everyone to sit in your mind and to walk the way you want to walk. And now that becomes very difficult. Then you start seeing a problem in every little thing. Now, there are people that they see a problem. It's like, okay, this is good, but I have a problem with this. This is okay, but I have a problem with this. This is okay, but I have a problem with this. Why? Because they're expecting everything to align to their expectation. Now, when you put yourself in that space, you realize that what? You're going to become very upset over little things. So you need to understand that people see things from different perspectives, right? It's just like, okay, maybe let me give you a typical example. Now, when we look at people from different belief background, right? Everyone is praying to God, but everyone is praying from a different perspective. Now, if we start arguing based on where we are coming from the next 2 weeks, we're not going to stop, right? But when we understand that we're coming from a different perspective and we see things differently, is there any need for us to argue? No, there is no need. Now, this is what happened when you don't separate people and perspective. You think that everyone needs to think the way you think, believe the way you believe. Now you have a problem. Now, you might be thinking your team have a problem, but it's just the way you are seeing your team that makes you create the entire problem. So here you realize that every problem you're solving, you created it in your mind. You refuse to see it from the team member perspective. Now, when you see people from their perspective, it's easier to deal with them and help them solve their problem, and you move on. Now, just to make some clarity here, seeing people from their perspective doesn't mean that you're accepting what they're doing is right. No, it gives you first a standpoint to make your note and to be able to align your analysis based on what they already know. And it's easier now to make them see it. And this is a powerful problem. This is a powerful technique to collaborate with stakeholders. Stakeholders see things from the management level. You see things from the team level. A stakeholder is going to come tell you, hey, look, your team is underperforming. And when you look at your matrices, your team is delivering more than 80%. But a stakeholder said, no, you're underperforming. Now, a stakeholder is seeing it based on what they have promised to deliver the client. You are seeing this based from the standard of the team level. So both of you are right. It's just that you're coming from different school of thought. So you have to be able to meet somewhere and have an agreement, but you cannot meet somewhere unless you understand where they are coming from. If you want to start teaching them based on, oh, look, if you look at our metrics, it doesn't make any sense to them. Now, if you understand their perspective, and that is why, in order to resolve contention within stakeholder or contention with different team members, first understand where they are coming from. And how do you do that? Powerful questions. Understand them, listen, take note. And then by the time you speak, you're giving their word back to them. It makes them understand you because you're giving their language back to them. This is also a very powerful concept in sales. Now, if you meet people who are good in sales, you hardly resist to buy from them. And after you buy from them, like, why did I buy this? I did not even need it in the first place. But just because they were able to see from your perspective. For those who, if you've actually gone into a dealership shop to buy a car, you understand what I mean. Now, you will spend more than what you were intending. Why? Because they now take you, interview you, and then present you to that car. And even get to sit in there, take a drive. So what are they doing? They're making you think you. So when you're rejecting, you feel like you're rejecting yourself. And it's very difficult to reject yourself. So that's the powerful tool of meeting people where they are, understanding them, taking down notes, and then presenting their word back to them from a buy-in perspective. Talk about the next steps. It's not about now. If we start arguing about, oh, the team is doing this wrong, what's going to happen? The team spend about the next 4 hours trying to justify why we're doing this, or our previous Scrum Master did X, Y, Z, or the PO did this, or this is how we've been doing things, and all of that. What are you happening? You're dwelling in the same point. You're not making any step. Now they see that what you're saying doesn't make sense, and nobody wants to come to your meeting again. But if you come in and say, okay, team, let's do this. What are the next steps? You are helping them to advance and to shift away from where they are, and everybody wants to move forward. So this is how solutions are being created when what? You're able to meet with your team. Help them see beyond themselves. Just look at this. If someone, let's say you meet someone who's very broke, and they have the last, let's say, $1,000 in the account, and you say, hey, look, do you know that within the next 2 weeks, you can make $100,000? What happened? Their thinking changed, and they forget about the fact that they have $100,000 in their hand. You empower them to see the future. But if you come in and start telling them how to manage that 1,000 and how to, okay, and you say, okay, can you give me, let's say, 500? You say, this is the only thing I have. Why? They are unable to see beyond that. But if you make them see 100,000, they will give you that 1,000. So I don't need it. I'm looking for that $1,000 coming ahead. Are we looking at techniques of how to help the team? Now, it's a concept on how you help the team see forward. First, by not playing down on what they're doing. And have someone, Nanga, your hand is up. You have a question?
Yeah, thank you so much, Doc. I just had a question on this part. Can you give an example on how to show them the bigger picture?
Okay, I was just about to do that. Now, I have a coach came to me like, look, I've been very frustrated the whole yesterday. I don't know how I can really help my team get out. I said, okay, tell me, what have you been doing? I said, okay, look, I've done a lot of gap analysis and I've been able to write down everything they are doing wrong. I presented it to them and they don't want to change from there. They feel like, no, and I'm frustrated. I don't know how to help them. I said, okay, the reason you cannot help them is because you're not helping them see beyond their mistake. You presented all their mistake to them. But instead, when you do a gap analysis, it's for your own good. It's not for the team. Now, when you come to the team, you are showing them what is step two. Step two, right? You present the expectation to the team. Team, we are looking forward to build a team that is capable of delivering 110% of their sprint every time. Do you think we can do this? Yes. We're interested to learn how to do that. Now you use the gap analysis that you did, you already have the weakness, and help them brainstorm on that area. Now, if you come and present everything they are doing wrong without the focus on where they are going to, it keeps them what? Discouraged, and they don't want to talk about that. How many people are very open to talk about their failures and what they did wrong and how they mess up? If we bring that conversation, like, you know what, just forget about that. That's something I don't want to talk about, right? Because nobody's proud about what they did wrong. But often we want to do this to the team. We want to focus only on how they did the worst stuff. And then we still want the same team to think about how to move ahead. So you guide them, you show them the big picture, you show them how good this could be. And then you help them brainstorm towards that. Now, when you help them see the future, what are you doing? You're driving them towards the future from where they were. So it's easier now to talk about where they were when they have seen where they're going to. So this becomes more important to them compared to this. But if we start by doing what? Talking all about this without presenting a big picture, it becomes difficult to have them align. Coach in the moment. What is coaching in the moment? Don't separate yourself. Don't separate your lifestyle. Don't separate the way you feel. Don't separate who you are from how you help people. Which means you come to your team, you want to pretend to be the most lovable and lovable person, which you're not. But just because you're with a team, you're trying to push all of that into play. And then when you leave the team, you're completely a different person. Now you're presenting two faces. So in life, personality is going to make you very, very unhappy. Why? Because you're not proud of yourself. You always need to present a different image when you meet. And then when you go back, you cannot replicate that. So instead, identify the area you need to work on and integrate them in your coaching approach. So you don't only coach others, you coach yourself. because you cannot give your team what you don't have. That is why when we come here, we learn how to do icebreaker, and you don't make it part and parcel of you, and you start facilitating a team through that process. They don't feel it. They don't feel it. Why? You're telling them something, but they can't see it in you. So the flow is not in you. Now, I can give someone else this lesson on performance to teach. And by the time they go halfway, everybody will say, you know what, I'm wasting my time. Let me go do something better. The same note, the same slide. What's the difference? It's not that they cannot read. It's that they are teaching what they are not. So the energy cannot flow towards it. And people cannot. So apart from you reading slides and sentences to people, what radiates when you speak is not just the word, it's not just the fact that you know it, it's because you have it in you. And that's why you can go for an interview, you answer every question right, but like, okay, we don't feel you. Like, no, I don't think this person. We had an interview about 2 days ago, right? And we're interviewing someone that could help us in social media marketing. And by the time we're listening to this person, now the person used all the most complex and what example they could use. They did really good case study. But then when we sat back to do the analysis, everyone analysis is that I could not relate what they're saying to who they are, right? So they spoke along, they did a very good presentation, but we could not see that person in what they're saying. So you could see that what they are presenting is disconnected from them. It was fancy, it was beautiful, but you could not see that in them. So like, no, they cannot do that. They just presented that, but we don't. This is how the interviewers see many of us as we go for an interview. Why? Because all what we've been doing is trying to answer as many interview questions as much as possible without taking the time to make it sink in us, without taking the time to meditate on it. And how do you look? The easiest way for you to become a master is to give out. So many people that only take and they don't give out, the day you're giving out, they will know that this doesn't come from you. It's when you start giving out that what it becomes, that value reflection is in you. So always seek for opportunity on how you can give. The more people you give to, the more the virtue remain in you. When you're talking, people can see that, oh, this is someone that understands exactly what they're saying. Why? If I talk to 20 people, what happened? I've learned 20 lessons. Why? Because they're coming from different perspectives. If I talk to only 2 people, what happened? All I know is just about these 2 people. So coaching in the moment, don't separate your life from what you're doing. If you're just doing this just because you want to have the 6-figure job, when you go there, the job will tell you, you know what, I don't know you. I don't think this version I want to present myself to. So the 6-figure is going to say, no, you know what, I don't trust you enough to come into your hand. Now, every aspect in life has a voice. It's not only human. So even as you're studying, the material is looking at you. I don't think I'm going to get into your head today because you're not serious about getting me. And you're like, you know what? I'm not understanding this. Let me go to sleep. Now, it just communicated to you and sent you to sleep, right? Because now it's a psychology. I might be talking a bit like a joke, right? But this is reality. But if you come like, you know what? If I don't understand this, I'm not going to bed. What happened? You realize that there's no way you can go to sleep without understanding that. It gives way. So this aspect is not just about you listening. The heart needs to be connected while you do this. The last point, continuous learning. Self-awareness, self-management, crucial skills. Don't be in the rush. Continuous learn. This afternoon, I was just going through to start looking at story sizing, to start looking at what is Kanban, and trust me, I did learn a lot. I feel like I should go back and redo all my notes again. So there's no point where you overgrow learning. No way. And to sum it up, To sum it up, coaching, it's more like a compass, right? You can understand Scrum. I can have one-on-one with 5 different people, and I'm teaching them a concept, the same concept. The way I'm going to deliver it to each of them is based on their understanding. It's based on where they're coming from. There's someone will come and they've invested their time, they study. All I'm going to do is just to ask them a couple of questions to validate what they know. And I say, you know what, you're good. Another person will come, they have no idea, and you need to start teaching them like a baby, the same thing. Another person will come, and all you need to do with them is just to bring a scenario that is in their environment and that they now make sense of it. Another person will come, it doesn't matter how you do it, they don't get it. So you send them to go build themselves and then come back. Because the state at which they are, it doesn't matter what you do, they're not going to understand. And at that point, you need to be self-aware. Some people want to move too fast and you're telling them, slow down, you're not yet at that space. Say, no, you know what? It's just about doing it. So, collaborate, improve, deliver, reflect. That's a circle. Now, you know a compass, right? It doesn't mean that if I'm facing this direction all the time, it's going to point the same direction. It depends on where the north and the east and where I'm standing. It doesn't mean that every time I stand straight, no. So things are going to apply based on, number one, how you are practicing the concept that are being taught. Number two, how you position your mind to continuously absorb it. And number three, your ability to replicate and to make up your mind to be a teacher. Make up your mind to be a live learning student. Make up your mind to grow beyond this. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be launching different certification. The first weekend of July, we're going to be having an ROT certification. I think also in July, we are also going to be having a PO training, leading safe training, and all of that. Now, you need to already program in your head, what else do I need to add value to myself? One of the things people don't budget in life is they don't budget for their own personal growth. We budget for everything else, but we don't budget on which new skills do I need to get this month. Your most powerful competitive advantage is what else can I learn? It's not what do I know. No, if you base your pride on what you know, you're going to expire soon. Trust me. It's about reading. It's about reading. It's about new knowledge. It's about learning. It's about not just videos. So we come to the end of our teaching. Any questions before we close for today? No question? It means everyone understood. Yes, Augustine. Oh, we need to unmute you. Okay, let me give everybody. I did muted everyone because I did not want.
Okay. Yes, Coach. No, thanks for all that information. Yeah, you were speaking to me directly because you know exactly that's where I am right now. Yes. So the question I have is about the PO training you're about to take. Is it the safe one or just a regular PO training? I think we have the safe level as well.
Okay. PO training, whether Scrum or Safe, is the same thing, the same as Scrum Master. Now, the PO training in Safe is just that it gives you more. it's not just about team level, it also tell you how you operate at the program level. This is why I don't teach PSM and CSM. It when you come to SAFE, we still teach everything. So why will I teach less when you can get more?
So you're teaching the higher one, the safe level?
Yeah,
Or the enterprise level?
I'm teaching SAFE PO, not the PO for CSM and
Okay, good. I'll be interested then. I'll need that as well as the RTE. Okay, thank you.
all right. Yes, Olushola.
Good evening, Doctor, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Doctor, for that powerful presentation. Very educating, it can be better than that. But my conclusion, I just want you to confirm this for me. From all that you said, there is no way you can really advise, train, support if you don't have knowledge of like a little bit knowledge of the production of the products you are working on. My question is, does the Scrum Master necessarily have to be technical?
Okay. If we go back to where we started our teaching, that's going to help us answer that question, right? Okay. Right here. You need to understand the vision. What's the vision? Where are we going? What are we doing? Now, what's the technical aspect? It's about the tools and all of that. It doesn't have anything to do with you coaching effectively. Now, if you know that we are building a software that is going to help us effectively market to 1 million people, you don't need to know the tools and techniques that are being used, but you need to understand the product and exactly what they're doing. If a team says that, oh, we are building an integrated system, or we are connecting all the different portals, we're building APIs that are going to link up to 300 different locations. Now, when they're building the API, they're using what? They're using tools and techniques. What is your goal? Why do we need APIs? If we don't have APIs, there is no way the client on the other side will be able to see what we are doing, or will not be able to access their server. Is that technical? No. So the reason why sometimes Scrum seems technical to us is because we have not mastered the concept of vision, the vision of futures. And to understand that it doesn't matter what type of complicated technology language they're using, they only communicate to the business in a solution. So your goal would be, oh, we're using Lambda, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what solution are you delivering with that? That's your point. If you can understand the solution, okay, how close are we to this? And this is how we communicate to business. We don't communicate to business, oh, we built 5 APIs last week and blah, 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 and all of this. Now, sometimes you might have to do that because you're communicating to a manager who is not business, is the internal person. And they might want to have very close follow-up to your team in such a way that because they're also technical, they might be asking some of these aspects. But when it goes to the real customer, none of that is valid. How much are we done? 50%. Okay, when are we getting it out? Next week. Okay, what solution? What can you do for our customer? Oh, you can start collecting payment. You can start doing this. That's all they need. So if you get into any space and they bring up technical discussion, you need to de-entangle the discussion. All right, I do understand all of this, but mind you, we are representing business. So in business language, what solution are we building? What is the future? What's the function? How is it going to help the customer? But if you don't understand that this is your language of communication, they will come confuse you with all their jargon and then you're like, oh, no, what? I don't understand what my team is doing. I don't understand every stuff. And you feel like, now they're doing all of that because they need a solution. So your goal is to try to understand the minimum marketable futures they are producing while they're having that complex language, and then use that to be able to guide them. So when you talk to a developer and they say we're using X, Y, Z, like, can you help me understand what is the solution? What is the output? At the end of all of this, what are we going to get? The same thing when you're communicating, because the question you're also going to be pushed with whenever you get to interviews, you're working with a data team. They're not building futures. So how do you know, or how do you evaluate their progress? They're not building futures, but they're putting out data that will help accomplish a solution. What solution are we building? What business value? Did that answer your question?
You did. The reason why I asked the question, I didn't even know this was going to be the topic for today. Someone posted a video on the group chat. And on that video, that was where I saw this, where the presenter was saying that to be a technical, or to be technically knowledge in what you're producing is best for a Scrum Master. And somehow I got confused, and I said I'll bring the question up in the meeting, and that's why I asked. Thank you.
Okay. Now, sometimes the reason why they say that you have to be technically knowledgeable on the product your team is building, it doesn't mean that you need to know how to build a product. No. It means that you need to understand what is the main output. Now, technical knowledge doesn't necessarily mean writing code. It simply means, what is this solution going to fix? And what are the different parts of what you're building? And the reason that's recommended, or that's required from Scrum Masters, is that there's no way you're going to work with a team for 2 years and you don't understand what they're doing. No way. There is no way.
Feel distant from the Lord.
Right? So when some of these questions are being asked, it's not because they're technical. For those who are in the field, you agree with me. There's no way you're going to be with a team for even 6 months, 7 months, and you don't understand their language. So you always have to do what? Try to picture out. That's why we always talk about what futures is your team. Now, that's the technical knowledge we're talking about. We're building a payment system that was connecting to these and producing this result. That's the technical language of the Scrum Master should know, but not like, oh, we're writing SQL code and we're using this deployment technique and this is how you write the code. No, not that. All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other question? Okay, if we don't have another question, the second part of the mastermind today is going to be working groups, right? It's going to be very random working group. And anyway, but if I see so many experts in one room, I might move you to another room. So I would say when I create randomly, maybe just pause for a few seconds so that we kind of ensure that we're having the right distribution, right? At least I'll try to make sure that in each of the room, there is there's an SME, not to facilitate, that could be able to understand the discussion and gives you more insight. So for the next 30 minutes or 45 minutes, you want to have a conversation for your own goods, right? When I mean for your own good, what am I talking about? If there's a concept you don't understand, you've been struggling to understand, it's an opportunity to ask the question. If there is a question you've been trying to figure out and you feel like I still have some mismatch and I don't yet understand it, it's the place to ask the question. If you're struggling how to even get to the basic, how to organize your reading strategy or so, it's time to ask the question. So everyone, my advice for you would be prepare at least 3 questions that you're gonna ask and get support from the team, right? It's not a place to go meet yourself and not say anything. So if for any reason at this moment you cannot contribute to any of the group, it's gonna be a good time to drop from the call. Because now we're gonna do a working group so that we can better support each other. This is called peer support, right? So that's what we want to do now. Okay, perfect. So I'm